I don't know if I can. Oh God. Okay.
I can live with the idea that this is all your fault and that I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can live like that. So
Then I like, oh, Donnie.
before we start this show, we have for the past 2 weeks, we've had some issues with my internet. It has been raining cats and dogs here.
Yeah, everybody who's in the chat now, they were here when it happened.
Yeah.
They remember.
So 2 weeks ago, internet froze up, whatever. It's everything crashed, and then bam, come back. A lot of people had left the stream, which we understand. You don't want to stick around for something that continues to crash. And it took Blue quite some time to piece together the episode. Well, last week I was like, oh, I got a new router. Everything should be fine. Same exact thing happened almost the same exact time. And I really couldn't figure it out. Well, I've been doing some research and all this stuff. I got this new router. I've rebooted it. I've changed DNS. I flushed DNS out on my PC. I've done everything. Speeds look great, but it's just that connectivity part. And I don't know what's going on with it. So I called my ISP today and they're like, we don't see anything wrong with your modem, yada, yada, yada. You got to bypass your router. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Okay. So we're giving it a go. We're crossing our fingers, our eyes, everything else we can cross. Chat, if you want to help us out and cross whatever you can cross for us, and just to hope that this goes fine, we'll be grateful.
Please, whatever good luck and karma you have maybe sitting in your back pocket and felt like giving to us, we would take it.
Yeah. Really quickly, if everybody in the chat could just tell us how the video looks. Does it look like it's going 10 frames per second, or does it look like it's going normally?
Redox says all of relevant appendages crossed. I like that distinction.
Like this.
Mm-hmm. That's the spirit. That's the spirit that we're looking for. Thank you, Redox.
GoldenEye says, well, okay. All right. Just give me that false sense of security right now. I'll take it.
Looks good, sounds good. Donnie's conscience is on the line tonight. And if it crashes and I am up again till 5 a.m. putting it back together, I will text you every 15 minutes.
Siri, turn off.
I will call you every 15 minutes.
You Fall Before Me says, looks better than GTA 6 on PS5.
Ooh,
burn.
Topical burn.
Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and start this episode. Welcome to Gamers Week Podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 164, and today is Wednesday, May 7th, 2024. 2025, not 2024.
Wow.
I don't know where that come from.
Hey, Marty, come with me.
We're going back to 2024. It's like, you know, when you write those dates on your checkbook, like right after the year is turned.
Because you're writing checks.
I wrote a check 2 weeks ago for my sprinkler system activation. They're like, oh, you can, if you pay by debit card or credit card, there's a 3% fee. But if you write by check, I was like, deal. Wrote him a check. That was the equivalent of writing a check after the new year, since I said 2024. My name is Donnie G. Retro, and I will be your host this evening. But as you can see, I am not alone. My first co-host is a man who, when he says, not tonight, I have a headache, he's being extremely literal. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Ryan Payne, a.k.a. Retro Game Brews. Buddy, how are you feeling this evening?
Good. I just wasn't in the mood, you know. But I'm feeling much better. I appreciate that. I appreciate you checking in on me. Thank you.
Is there something we could be doing to be keeping the spice up in the podcast relationship to help you be in the mood next time?
I mean, a little role play, maybe, you know.
Suggestions?
You know what? I've got a few. Let me check my notes.
You've been keeping a journal about it.
I
have. Yeah, Puzzle Better says, wait, there are people who don't take Cash App?
Ryan, I've got this complete in-box copy of Earthbound for you.
But we're role playing, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. I know it's not for real.
Aw.
And my second co-host recently had a fight with Shang Tsung, and when he said, "Your soul is mine," she snickered and said, "What soul?" before ripping out his spine.
Because she's a ginger. I get it.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, say good evening to Blue Williams, aka Writer's View. Blue, how are you doing this evening?
You know what? Because that visual in my head of me ripping out Shang Tsung's spine is so epic that I'll allow it.
Since we didn't have an episode on Monday, I didn't really have a lot to go on. So this is the mediocre introduction that you're getting this week. Let's go ahead and jump into our reviews, reactions, and requests. Atelier Callie says, "We waited 30 minutes in line at Walmart for a Switch 2, but when our time came up, it would not let us add to cart.
Oh,
Had to watch the timer count down to 0. Did manage to score one some 2 hours later. Test of wills and perseverance."
absolutely. I think I would have given up. So kudos to you.
Yeah, that would have been soul crushing just to watch it, because you had when it was your turn, you had 10 minutes to
Yeah.
complete your purchase, and so just watching it count down would be like, no,
Exactly.
don't do it, add it to the cart.
And if you're in communities like ours, I'm sure you were seeing people like, "Hey, I got one. Hey, I
Right.
got one." And they're
Yep, all night long.
long.
Mogak says, "I don't think I'll be involved in Discord enough to ever pay for it. Social media will only be a way to pass the time and connect for me." I applaud that very much so.
Yeah, and I would say for us, considering that of course we do run a show and we have a community that we are highly engaged with in Discord, it's different for us. But I would say the average person, you're right. It's sometimes, I mean, especially if you haven't found a community like that, where I think a lot of people use Discord for either like troubleshooting or they just want to check out a particular brand, which there are a lot of Discords for that. Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
get it.
I think how many indie games and bands and projects like that rely on Discord to connect with their user
Of
base
course,
or their
right.
audience, and yeah, it's going to turn a lot of projects and groups upside down if they make it pay to play.
And last but not least, Gaming Again says, "I experienced every failure on launch night. I also tried during the day at GameStop, which crashed instantly. It's 2025 for F's sake."
Yep, I also tried GameStop the next morning. Nothing. Crashed immediately.
Were any of these places taking actual physical pre-orders? Like you could go into the store and say, "Hey, I'd like to pre-order this." And they'd write down on a little
Yes.
orange ticket and give it to you.
GameStop was.
Oh, they
So
were.
yeah, certain locations were, and I did see people saying, "I'm not bothering with that. I'm just going to drive down, wait in line." It would be something like the store would say, the store has 20 units available for pre-order and there's 12 people in line. Hurry down to this GameStop if you're in
Yeah.
the area, kind of a thing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that there's still an alternative to the online pre-orders where you're having to fight with the bots and all that stuff. So that
But
makes
you gotta
Mhm.
leave the house. Ooh.
sense.
I know.
Just
This
do
is
it like
2025 for fuck's sake. Puzzle Better brings up a good point. She says a lot of charities use Discord for resources and organization too. And then we got the Puzzle Butter emoji.
Yeah,
Ooh. I
but
like
let's
that
make sure we
emoji.
charge the charities. So
Right.
Right.
don't want them doing too much good.
All right, let's take a look at our patron shoutouts.
All right, well, we couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. Crunchy Kong, Sheriff Snacks, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven Sand, Ramboski, Terry Kinnair, Don't Make Me Pull This Car Over, Games of Copy, Hybrid Divide, You Fall Before Me, Davey PGH, The Pixel Pond Family, including Shanna and Luke, Zach Huge Thanks, Puzzle Butter, Number One Blue, Sick Boys Fan, John Barron, Sassy Sony, Evo Lust, Rai Wants This Boy's Soul, Mega Retro Man, Gamatroid, Moradib, Michael, I knew it! I'm surrounded by assholes! Keep firing, assholes! Kite, Emo S, Bill Tucker, you know the beeps, the sweeps, and the creeps. Oh, two
There's a theme.
Spaceball references. The beeps, the sweep, and the creeps.
That's not all he's
Fruitcakes,
lost.
pickled pepper, ducks with thick thighs, absolutely the best podcast, a work in progress. Wizard of Zardoz, Bob's and Dugnut, Blues Little Sis, Loud Moth, Retro Blast Pat, B&T Zillaguy, The Mad Milk Man, and 7 Castle Forest. If you like what you hear today, we really hope you do. Please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. You also gain access to our bi-weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut. Patrons with benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
Comb the desert. Did you hear me? Comb the desert.
So Doongie popped in the chat and said, "Hey, Blue and others." And then Webhead says, "Blue and others." I believe that was one of the original choices for the title of the show.
Oh,
Dislike.
ouch.
I think we should maybe revisit that one of these days.
I'm going to veto that and say no. It's a
Yeah,
2-1 veto.
You're no fun.
Oh, God. Please don't. Please don't. Please don't. Please don't.
This is like Gilligan's Island, you know, at the original ending of the song, and it just said, and the rest, right? Not the professor and Marianne, right? But
Mhm.
everybody knows the professor was the best character and Marianne was the hotter of the two. So I think me and Donnie are in that. I'm the professor. He's Marianne. Looks good in a dress.
Ooh. Hold on. What are you talking about? The end of the song, it's the professor and Marianne here on Gill. There's no...
Originally, it stopped before the professor and Marianne and just said, and the others.
Oh, it did?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to hear that song, that version.
And so I guess Gilligan, the guy who plays Gilligan,
Bob.
you know, your uncle, like, you know, basically said, hey, I think we should include, because it's just 2 more fucking characters, you
Well, good on
assholes.
him.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan confessing, Donnie is the hotter of the two. You heard it here, folks.
I'm okay. I'll take brains over looks.
I look good in a dress. I'll take that. All right, so let's take a look at this week's headlines. Microsoft has announced... Wait a second. Nope. Sorry.
Our headline segment is proudly sponsored by Absolutely the Best Podcast, a work in progress. Each episode, George and Zach discuss and rank all the best things, starting with deep dives into every movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This week, they've got a trivia question for us.
Ooh.
What popular mid-80s home computer was featured in the sci-fi fantasy movie The Explorers, in which 3 boys modify the machine to generate an inertia-free electromagnetic bubble they use to explore the galaxy and make contact with advanced alien beings? Visit them at absolutelythebest.net or follow the link in the show notes.
I love this movie.
I've never seen it.
I've actually seen it.
Oh,
A movie I've
what?
seen and Ryan
Holy
hasn't.
crap.
Wow. So then...
So the clue, though, is popular mid-80s home computer. It's got to be Commodore 64.
That makes sense, but I know the answer to this one. It is not a Commodore 64. It is an Apple computer. I don't know if it's the Apple II or the Apple I, but I like when Wolfgang is down in his basement and they've got the sphere and everything like that he's showing him the sphere going through it. You can clearly see the Apple logo on his monitor. So he takes that computer and puts it into the spaceship. I have loved this movie since I saw it as a kid, and this is a movie that I can go back and watch, and for me it still holds up.
I was told that for credit you must specify.
Oh, if it's the Apple II or Apple One?
I'm going to say it's the Apple IIe.
That's the kind of specification we're looking for.
Okay. I just know I know it's an Apple. I don't know if it's an Apple II or an Apple One. I'm going to go with Apple II as it's probably more prominent.
Yes, but which Apple II?
There's what?
You need a letter at the end?
Well, how many different ones are there?
I
Apple?
don't know.
Well,
I'm just saying, I was told you had to get the full answer for credit.
oh, okay. Hang on. How many Apple IIs are there?
It's gonna be like 48,000 units. Son of a
See,
bitch.
like right here, it's taken a little bit longer. Okay. Included various models like the Apple II, the Apple II Plus, 2E, 2C, and 2GS. I'm going to say it's probably just an Apple II Plus.
You're both incorrect,
Okay.
but very close. It was an Apple IIc.
Oh, 2C. Whatever.
Whatever.
All right.
Oh, Simon says yes, but which Apple II Plus?
The Apple II Plus minus. Let's start off this week's headlines. Microsoft has announced that it is raising the prices of its Xbox consoles globally, and has also announced that it will charge $80 for games starting later this year. We understand that these changes are challenging, and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development, Microsoft said in a statement to IGN. The price of Xbox Series X and Series S consoles has been increased by $100 and $80 respectively in the US. Additionally, the new $80 rate will seemingly apply to both physical and digital games. The price hike is inspiring a lot of debate and discussion, with some wondering why the price of digital games is going up, this guy included. Nico Partners analyst Daniel Ahmad said it's true there is no direct tariff impact on digital games, but publishers may choose to raise prices anyway for a variety of reasons. To begin with, raising the price of a digital product could help offset rising costs in other departments, he said. Second, a publisher might raise the price of a digital game to bring it in line with its physical counterpart. Other factors could be that a game's price is going up to reflect the increased cost to develop a particular game, along with a belief that people will, in general, accept the price increase. Lastly, a publisher might decide to charge more for a digital game because they can, Ahmad said.
That's very comforting.
I think, though, if we're being honest, it's mostly that part because we can.
What was it? Back in the 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, they asked a GM executive why people would pay $30,000 for a vehicle at that time, which was pretty expensive.
A lot.
And that was their response: because we can, because people will buy it and they'll finance it, and we won't have to worry about them actually purchasing it cash. We'll just finance it through our finance group. So, yep, we win either
Mhm.
way.
Did it work out for them?
Yes and no. Because like a new vehicle nowadays is, I mean, if you're gonna get, most cars are in the $40,000 to $60,000 range. So,
Which is mind-blowing.
mhm.
Puzzle Better says additional factors include greed, and give me your money.
Give me your money.
Yep.
When
Yep.
I saw this, that they're raising the prices of not only their consoles, but their video games to $80. And then on top of that, they want to increase the price for digital games. I'm sorry. If you take a look at an Xbox game now, it doesn't come with anything other than the case and the disc. That's it. So I understand the price difference between physical versus digital, but don't feed me a load of bullshit and say that, oh, we need to raise the price of digital because it's just as costly to make a digital version that it is a physical version, which is a load of crap because you don't have all the extra additives. You don't have to pay for shipping or anything like that. I don't believe that. And because of this, I will not be purchasing any Xbox related games, systems, or anything.
And I think the old adage was like, oh well, if it's a digital game, right? It's because it's purely on this server, right? So we got to
Mhm.
maintain this server and blah 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 blah. And there's all this exchange, and you buy a new game, you can't play it until you upload and download a new version of it that patches
Right.
all of the problems. So you're
Right.
essentially buying a digital game at that point.
You're not wrong. Redox says, Microsoft bullshit.
Mhm.
Tasty.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. I pre-ordered Ghost of Yotei this week because it's still on sale for $70. So I think it's only a matter of time before PlayStation steps up and does this same thing, especially if Microsoft and Nintendo are doing the same thing. So I thought, I'm going to get my pre-order in, save myself $10 versus when this game comes out, I think in October. But aside from the games, like I, on the one hand, you could say, well, it makes sense to raise the prices. We've got the whole tariffs mess that's going on, and so of course their costs are more expensive. So yeah, I guess you could see them raising the prices, but I still think it's a boneheaded move on their part. They are last in the console wars this generation.
Mhm.
It's a 5-year-old product with an install base that is stale, and their big deal is Game Pass. How
Right.
are you going to move more machines, get more people to sign up with Game Pass when you're raising the price of a 5-year-old console that's going to be out of date in another 3 years? Yes, Donaldo.
I have a question.
Yes,
Microsoft is based where?
the US.
So how are, and they have a bunch of studios that they've purchased, they've brought into their own fold and umbrella that make these games. How are you going to sit there and say that they're affected by the tariffs?
I would imagine that the components used for
Mm-hmm.
making all of these consoles are not strictly made in the US.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the computers that they use to develop the games and stuff like that.
No, are you talking about why digital games are being raised
Well,
because of tariffs, or are you talking about physical?
well, well, I guess both. Because where are the cases in the print stuff made? Is it made here in the
I
U.S. or is
doubt
it made
it.
in China?
I
I
would
bet it's made
imagine,
in China.
yeah, to be
Okay,
cheaper in the
so
margins.
if that's the case, then I can understand the tariffs being raised for that. But with the digital games, if you're going to cite tariffs as a raising cost, I that doesn't compute.
So this is an interesting fallacy when it comes to tariffs because we often think about it. Well, if you don't buy something, so say they do tariffs on country X, right? Everything is coming from country X, so the person who imports it, right? They pay 20% on $100 item, so now it's
Mm-hmm.
120 bucks. But you as a consumer, as a company that is located in your country and don't do business with country X, right? You see the price of country X products going to $120. Your original cost for that is say $100 as well. Well, you can raise your price to 110 or 115, look like the low cost option,
Yeah.
but still get the premium for it. So realistically, that's what's happening across the board for all products is that there's still, if the price goes up for one thing that people will mass consume, everything else is going to come up to it just enough to be slightly less. And I think that that's one of the things that is a misnomer when it comes to tariffs and inflation and prices,
Yeah. So
which
nobody
sucks.
wins. Yeah,
It
nobody
is.
wins in this
No one wins.
situation except for the government. Not to go down that rabbit hole, but
Right.
anyway, Rambowski says all it takes is for one of them to test the waters, and if it works, then the rest of them follow suit, and it becomes the norm. Prices for everything keep going up except our fucking checks.
Well, and to that point is I think Nintendo is the one who tested the waters to say our newest console is
Right.
going to be more expensive than you expect. The new games are going to be more expensive than you expect. And right now, I mean, let's be honest, Microsoft is taking advantage of this whole situation. Like, oh yeah, the tariffs, the uncertainty of the market. They're using vague terms to just be able to say, we've been looking for an excuse to raise the price on this so that we can gather more revenue
Mm-hmm.
from this. So this is the perfect opportunity.
Which, if you think about it, they have probably stockpiles of Xbox Series X and S consoles just sitting there that have already
Mm-hmm.
been made, and now they're going to say, "Oh, well, we're going to raise the prices on these because yeah, because we can."
Yeah, which
Mhm.
is why, again, I think it's a boneheaded move on their part this far into the generation. They should be discounting them
Of
to move
course.
them out the door, but they're not. They're raising the prices. And so, on top of everything else being more expensive, suddenly I bet you they're not selling Xboxes anymore.
Nope. And that's going to move them further into the dongle era.
Dongle.
Dongle,
Dongle.
dongle. That's what we will call this decade is the dongle era.
Oof.
The beginning of the dongle era. But yeah, we had worried that this would be the death of physical media, not only the impact of the tariffs, but then Nintendo doing their dumb key card
Yep.
things for physical games. But as far as Microsoft and probably soon Sony to follow, if the digital games are just as expensive as the physical games, I'm still buying physical. I think.
I would agree. Just from a form factor perspective, I enjoy the physical more,
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
as you can see. Uh,
The only slight hesitation is, well, because if you're paying the same, you have the physical game, which is something that you could trade or sell later if you wanted to. The only thing being that the additional cost for the physical item is now going towards tariff taxes versus handing it to hopefully a developer that made the game. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I
This,
think as well. A lot of people have been commenting in the chat that this is a great opportunity for you to tackle your backlog.
Yeah.
yeah, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm not buying anything else new. I'm not. If you're going to raise prices just because you can, no, sorry, you've lost a customer, and essentially that means that I will not be venturing into any new video game systems. Our friends Red and Ducks in the chat, they had offered to uh, they had another Switch 2 that they pre-ordered. And at first I was like, yeah, I'll do the Switch. But then after I started reading everything and contemplating, I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to be getting a Switch 2. Uh, not because I hate Nintendo or anything like that. It's because everything's going up in price. And like, I don't play my Switch that much anyway. So I'm going to get a Switch 2. Yes, I'm going to miss out on playing with some of my friends with some of this stuff, but just the way things are
Mario
going,
Kart.
where it's going to be like, oh well, you don't, oh, here's a digital code on a piece of, on this little thing that you, sorry, you have to contact the server, you don't get to play it locally anymore.
But
Sorry.
Mario Kart.
I know, maybe I can come over to Ryan's house and we can play Mario
Oh,
Kart
I'm not buying
too.
that thing for Mario Kart.
Oh.
Fine, but you're both going to miss out on that awesome video chat, okay? And when you see all your friends using that awesome video chat, you're going to be so jealous.
I can go get a Game Boy camera and try to hook that up and see if it'll work. Oh, please tell me that you guys, okay.
Donnie, you're freaking me out.
Sorry, man. Let's just move on. All right. Next up, Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed out of 2025 as Rockstar confirms a May 26, 2026 release date. But what does that mean for the games industry this year? Certainly nothing good, according to one veteran analyst. Grand Theft Auto 6 is a game that would bring relapsed players back to the consoles in particular, and would have been a driver of incremental hardware sales, says Circana games industry analyst Matt Piscatella, following the delay announcement. It would have also, if successful, brought potential growth months to the industry, again, particularly on the console side, and may have even worked to reinvigorate investor interest in the segment. I don't think anyone benefits in 2025 from this push. Between GTA 6's delay and the massive Xbox price hike from earlier this week, Piscatella further describes the situation as nightmare scenario territory for the video game industry forecast, adding that GTA 6 getting pushed does not mean there will all of a sudden be a whole bunch of dollars available for other games in 2025. It just means that a bunch of the dollars that would have been spent on gaming this year have disappeared. Piscatella has previously spoken about how he believes GTA 6 could be the most important thing to ever release in the industry, noting early last year that the games market had to survive 2024 and get to GTA 6 and hope.
I think we're being a little dramatic.
Do you want people to read your headline or not? I mean, I think the most tragic thing to come out of this is the fact that my beginning of the year prediction, where I said GTA 6 was going to be game of the year, is yeah, I lose. I'm the first of the three of us to lose.
Didn't I say that too?
No. You said there was going to be no major studio doing NFTs.
Oh, that's okay. We didn't say game of the year yet. Sorry. They have, I mean, obviously they're not going to announce that stuff until later. All right. Yes, you are correct. Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh. Okay.
Yes. Personally, this has been a very sad week for me.
I think it's a load of crap to say that the games industry was dependent on GTA 6. There are so many indie studios out there that are coming out with such great games. I know the one game that just came out with the 33 game that everybody's raving
Clair
about,
Obscur.
Clair
Yeah.
Obscur, which I said didn't look anything interesting to me, and now I'm pretty sure I'll play it and it will be fine, and I'll eat my words. That's perfectly fine. But there are so many games that come out that are not dependent on GTA 6. GTA 6 they could just say, nope, we're done. We don't need to make a GTA 6, and they'd still be fine. They'd still sell games.
I think it depends on how do you define the video game industry and what are you looking for.
Right.
If you're looking for total like global sales of games, and if we want to like look back to the pandemic when everyone was gaming because there was nothing else to do, and the revenue in the industry just kept going up and up and up, and that seems to be what people care about. So, in that respect, he's right because GTA 6 could charge $100. People would still buy it. It wouldn't matter. It would bring back people who don't often game. They would come back to buy this game. And it would be something that would be relatively immune from the effects of tariffs. Without it, it doesn't mean there's nothing to play and it doesn't mean there's nobody buying games. But I mean, you're not going to get the same sort of fancy global revenue numbers that you can look on Statista and go, ooh, look at the chart. It's so tall.
Yeah.
That from Expedition 33, I believe it's a $45 game,
Yeah.
indie game that is selling incredibly well for an indie game, but no way it's going to do GTA 6 numbers.
I'm curious to see what the data is on this concept of lapsed gamers, right? Like how many has the industry lost since the pandemic? Because I think that's the high water mark for the most
Mm-hmm.
part. Is as soon as mid 2020 to up until 2021 is probably where they saw their most growth. Because I mean, one game it's going to bring some people back, sure. But is it going to keep them there? Like, isn't that the goal? Is to try to create content that continues to keep people playing your games, so that you don't have to come out with a GTA 6 every 4 years in order to float the industry, if you will.
Well, you'd only come up with a GTA 6 every 10 years or something.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
It was what, 2011, 2012 or something like that? 2013?
Well, I mean, you can always come out with the remastered version, right? And the
Right,
super mega
right,
ultra
right,
version
right.
of it, right? No. We need it on, uh, whatever crazy thing, the new dongle that comes out. So,
Dongle.
yeah.
Yeah, I would argue that if you're looking for a healthy games industry, having the whole thing be dependent on one single title, no matter how epic that title is, that's not a good indication of the entire games industry.
If that's the case, we're fucked as far as
Yeah,
gaming is concerned.
yeah,
Honestly.
we are.
And it's an industry that has been pulling billions upon billions of dollars every single year since the mid 2010s.
And now they're going to
Even
raise prices because they want even more money. If they
Hmm.
they can't throw us a freaking bone. Yes, prices are going to go up for them, which means it's going to eat into their profits, but you're still raking in millions, if not billions of dollars. And now you greedy fucks just need a little bit more.
Hmm. Because we had to lay off all those people, and we were so sad about laying off all our developers that, we had to go and buy a new Maserati for us ourselves, and so.
Simon Asher makes a good point. I mean, it's still going to be GTA, right? Drive around, wreck cars, see how long you can run from the cops, use cheat codes. What else is there to do? And that's exactly what Grand Theft Auto is, except for now, I think you're buying it more for the story and the online experience. Right? Because we've driven through GTA, we've heard the soundtracks, we've had fun breaking into the military base, stealing a plane, doing all these crazy stunts. It provides loads and loads of content for content creators and all of that stuff. But it's ultimately the same game since Grand Theft Auto 3.
yeah. It's the same.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like Madden, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I mean, if that formula is your crack, then it's your crack. People say the same thing about Mario Kart. I was like, it's the same Mario Kart it's always been. Yes, but this one has an open world map.
Ooh, and I can drive around by myself?
Yeah. So, I mean, when they're offering your brand of crack, you're going to buy it.
Of course. Yes, Ryan?
No, just saying it's If this is truly the reality, it scares the crap out of me. That 1980, what is it, 1984 is going to happen again?
Yeah.
Or 1983, yeah.
Right. I thought you were talking about the 1984 with Orson Welles and all this stuff.
Yeah. Which
like,
could also happen. Just throwing it out there. That's not too far away either. But you know, the difference now is we have indie games and we have more choice. And I think all the three of us and everybody in the chat really could game pretty happily into the foreseeable future with just our backlogs.
Of course.
And the exceptional indie games and AA games that are coming out.
Absolutely.
And I think if the major AAA studios keep going on this path, I think they're going to get weeded out really quickly and find out that for all those years they don't have a GTA 6 to contribute. We don't need them.
And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the grind culture and the over expenditure on marketing and the toxicity that comes with a lot of the AAA titles that come out there from the communities that are part of it. Maybe that's a good thing that those things don't survive. And yeah, maybe they're on life support and they're getting the good old Jack Kevorkian. And there's a resurgence of different types of games now, right, that dominate the market.
Mm-hmm.
Will it be as profitable? I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not, but maybe that's not a bad thing either.
As a gamer, that's a win.
Yeah. Then you have people getting into gaming for the right reasons. You know.
Are people getting into gaming for the wrong reasons?
Well, I think games are made for the wrong reasons. Perhaps developers have the right reasons when they go into it, but then they become part of a studio system that says, shareholders.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
Next up, just a few months after reportedly canceling 2 unannounced live service games in the wake of the Concord catastrophe, Sony has unveiled a brand new internal studio called TeamLFG. And yep, it's making a live service game. The new studio isn't being headed up by any big names, or at least none were mentioned in the reveal, but its developers include industry veterans who have worked on games including Destiny, Halo, League of Legends, Fortnite, Roblox, and Rec Room, as well as newcomers with fresh creative perspectives and skills. It's an interesting move given that Sony seemed a little gun-shy about the whole thing back near the start of the year. Understandably so, Concord was a massive failure that consumed hundreds of millions of dollars and years of development time, and nobody wants a repeat of that. Of course, the flip side of that coin is Helldivers 2, a huge 2024 success that's still putting up inviolable player numbers. As they used to say in the old lottery commercials, you can't win if you don't play. TeamLFG said in the announcement that its first game is a team-based action game that draws inspiration from fighting games, platformers, MOBAs, life sims, and frog-type games? That takes place in a lighthearted comedic world set in a brand new mythic science fantasy universe. Eurogamer speculates probably correctly that it's the MOBA-style PvP game codenamed Gummy Bears that began development at Bungie but eventually transitioned to a brand new PlayStation studio. What the hell is a frog-type game?
Battletoads.
I mean, okay, I don't hate it.
Yeah, does anybody want to help us with that in the chat? I don't think Team LFG stands for Let's Fucking Go. It stands for Latest Fuck Up Game. You know what? I think it was worth talking about frog-type games to get Puzzle Better to share all of those frog-based emojis.
Frog emojis. I'm seeing a lot of outlets are asking that same question. It's a frog-type game, and then everybody's going, "What the fuck is a frog-type game?"
A frog-type game generally refers to games where the player controls a frog or the game's core mechanics involve a frog or frog-related elements. What?
I don't think that's a real answer. That
This
can't possibly
article
be what they mean.
had to be written by ChatGPT, or it was written in a different language and translated.
And
One
that's
of
a
the two.
terrible, yeah. But this whole idea sounds like somebody called in a favor to be able to do this. Because so it's started life at Bungie, which has struggled from their original Destiny highs of being able to really rake in those kinds of numbers, make that kind of money. People are kind of bored of the Bungie formula. And then you have Sony, who has been burned more than once on their live service efforts that were so like, this is going to be our focus, just I think even last year or the year before, and then failed spectacularly. So to try it again from a studio that has not been a high performing one lately, this has just got to be somebody called in a favor and they're like, man, we got to do it. Fine.
Do you have to do it though? Because I mean, I don't want to say that I have the foresight to say that this is going to crash horribly and that we're going to see Sony has closed their new studio that had this live service game.
Latest fuck up game studio.
Yeah. Do we really want live service games anymore?
Apparently, there's an audience for it. I just don't think that anybody has made one that's been worthy besides Helldivers 2. And I think Helldivers 2 had the luxury of having a previous rendition of the game, so people were interested in moving forward with it.
Yeah.
It also, I think, upped the ante for the newest version of it, and it's based off of a pretty popular book and movie. So
yeah,
it had all of the elements of the formula to get people attracted to it, to play it in the first place, to want to continue to play it. And I recently have played this, and I love Helldivers 2. I've instantly fallen in love with it.
Oh, sure.
Ryan's
Okay.
playing a modern game?
I know.
The world really is turning upside down.
Yeah. You can thank BJC for that.
Webhead says this article was written by a frog. I mean, yeah, I think there is still an enormous appetite for live service games, but people are just bored of the same old formulas.
Yeah.
So, like Helldivers 2, whoever can create something new and compelling, everybody's going to flock to it. And Sony's going, well, maybe seventh time's the charm.
Let's roll the dice
Yeah.
one more time.
One of these times, it's got to work.
Or is everybody going to hop to it? Yep, got it. That's what, I got a knee slap for Ryan, y'all. I don't know what to think about this. You're taking inspiration from fighting games, platformers, life sims, MOBAs, and of course the frog type games. Okay, the only ones that I can think of are Frogger and Battletoads. Frogger is where you're dodging things to progress across the screen. And Battletoads is just a beat 'em up. That's it. So this makes no sense to me. This is making my head spin.
Yeah, and I'd like to say it'll be interesting to see where it goes when this releases, but probably this is going to be in development for 8 years. And
Right.
we'll have forgotten all about it. And then we'll be like, oh yeah, that frog game.
And too, like, can imagine being part of the previous studios that they had shuttered, right? And then seeing them create another one, you're like, are you fucking
Yeah,
kidding me?
exactly.
Right?
Yup.
Like, did you call back the people from the studios that you just shut down and said, hey, we're opening up this new studio. We know that you've made success for us in the past. We'd like you to come back. I can guarantee you that did not happen.
I hope it's not the people from Concord, though.
Maybe what happened wasn't their fault.
I would actually
Yeah.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an
They probably
executive's
did the
fault.
best they could with the handcuffs they were in.
Were they
Hey.
furry or police issued?
Pink and fuzzy.
Now we're talking.
Nice.
Nice.
Well, last but not least, your eyes do not deceive you. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has penis jiggle physics. At various points on the Expedition 33 world map, you'll find Gestrel beaches offering minigames with new costumes as rewards. I immediately think of what's his name with the mankini, the green, neon green.
That would
Borat.
be Borat.
Borat,
Yep.
yes. Very nice. The very first one will deliver new swimwear for main characters Loon and Gustav. While it might seem a bit 2003 for this 2025 RPG to offer a far more revealing piece of swimwear for its leading lady than its leading man, Gustav's sex appeal still got some extra attention from the devs. By which I mean my man is rocking one heck of a prominent bulge, as quickly becomes apparent after only a few minutes of running around as Gustav in his new swimsuit. It's not purely a quirk of his run animation. No, the folks at Sandfall Interactive have indeed implemented jiggle physics on that bulge. And it's not just bulges that bounce. There are jizzle physics.
That's a different kind of. Never mind.
There are jiggle physics applied to the female characters too, though nothing so drastic as you might have seen in, say, Dead or Alive Extreme. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 sold 500,000 units within its first day of release and sold 1 million units within 3 days. The game has since sold over 2 million units. And I think this is going to give... It immediately makes me think of Street Fighter 6. When you in our tagline, you said people think that they can see Street Fighter Ryu's dong in Street Fighter 6.
Because you totally could.
You totally could. So why couldn't we have an updated Street Fighter 6 with jiggle physics? And while he's doing that move, he's going up in the air. You can see his dong just like kind of flap up like this. So if the kick doesn't land, the cock does.
That's a special move with a different input. Simon Astor says, does the size change with temperature like the horse testicles in Red Dead Redemption 2?
Excellent question.
Webhead says 1950. We'll have flying cars in the future. 2025. Jiggle physics before GTA 6, huh? You know what? Modern gaming is awesome. And I might have gone on YouTube and found a short where somebody was demonstrating it, where they were just basically like having him jump and like spin in circles. And I was like, yeah, I can. I need to buy this game.
For Jizzle.
For chisel.
Simon Asher demonstrating what? Just him running around in his thin little swimsuit.
So, Dead or Alive, those games, right? Had jiggle fist.
All three of us have said it.
Oh my god, and that was
See
not
what
on
you've
purpose.
You've
Jiggle physics.
Yeah, mine wasn't on purpose either, but it's in your brain now.
That needs to be an emote.
Jizzle physics.
Hashtag jizzle physics.
I'll see what I can do.
It's a jizzle hat trick, says Simon Astor.
Webhead says, okay, but I'm drawing the line at jizzle physics in VR. It's like it's coming right at you.
No, I just feel like, we're finally being more inclusive because now we've got dong jiggle physics rather than boobies. So it's a beautiful
both.
thing.
Yeah.
You need both. You're right.
You need both.
You
There
are,
needs to be
yeah.
balance in the world. Equal opportunity physics.
They're gonna do a Dead or Alive where there's now male beach volleyball players.
Probably that player base would have a fit.
Oh my god, that would be great.
Got sand all over my tip. Sticking to it because of the sweat.
You Fall Before Me says, does it come bundled with a dongle?
Dongle.
Dongle. All right. If it's going to crash, this is usually about when it does.
Why would you say that? Why would you say
Right.
that?
Because!
You jinx.
Do we have anything else further to say about the jizzle physics from Clair Obscur?
Well, not anymore.
Oh, what a buzzkill.
Sorry, did
Yeah,
I kill the jizzle?
Yeah.
My butthole puckered on that one, so thank you for that.
I think my chair is stuck to my butt.
Oh, did he just? He did.
You're kidding me.
See?
You're kidding me. No.
No, it was just for a second. It was just for a second. I think we're good.
Don't. You just scared the shit.
Keep
Now
going.
you're back to
Keep
normal. Now
going.
you're back. Okay. All right. So why don't we jump into our top 3 new releases? Starting with Metal Eden for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. You're sent on a suicide mission to rescue citizens' core form Mobius, and Orbital City turned into a deadly trap. Dive into cybernetic warfare, face the engineers in all caps, and uncover the secrets of Metal Eden in this adrenaline rush sci-fi FPS. Next up is Revenge of the Savage Planet for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. In a future knocked off its axis by corporate greed and stupidity, you have been made redundant and abandoned on the far edge of space with little gear and no safety net. You must explore every nook and cranny, collect dozens of upgrades, and turn over every mysterious alien rock if you want to get revenge on your former employer and return to Earth in this upbeat, satirical action adventure, third person, 3D Metroidvania. That is so many adjectives. And last up, The Midnight Walk, PS5, PSVR2, and PC. In this dark adventure with the minds behind Lost in Random, befriend a lost lantern creature and light your way through a world of wonder and terror. Outsmart monsters and marvel at details in a landscape handcrafted with real clay and animated in stop motion style. So taking a look at these three. Blue, what are you in for?
Doesn't matter about the other two because it's the Midnight Walk, which is that horrifying Tim Burton-y looking thing. I'm sure the other ones are probably great, but that is the only thing that I am interested in this week.
Short, sweet, to the point. Love it. Donaldo.
I would like to point out that she just called the first person shooter great. So, with that being said, I am not going to go with Metal Eden. That's a first person shooter sci-fi game. That does not interest me at all. Revenge of the Savage Planet, possibly from the description. I didn't get a chance to view gameplay on this, and I certainly didn't start that once we started the stream because I didn't want to crash. I didn't want to take the chance of crashing it. So
Thank you.
don't know what it looks like as far as gameplay.
I have read that there's a heavy emphasis on co-op and that it might be geared towards children. So,
Okay.
if you're looking for a game to play with probably younger kids, it's probably great. But
A Metroidvania with children? Well, I mean that's what we were raised on, so
yeah.
But like Blue said, the Midnight Walk, we reviewed this. I think it was one of the summer games, or not summer games, but one of the fests that these big companies put on with their reveals, and this one will look like an absolute banger. I am totally all in for the Midnight Walk.
Absolutely. What about you, Ryan?
So Metal Eden reminded me a lot of Halo. So I am definitely interested in that. I feel like there's a lot of Halo-esque, gameplay elements to it, and even kind of the look and feel a little bit. It's like Halo, so I'd at least be willing to give it a try to see if it recaptures that nostalgia for me. Revenge of the Savage Planet looks super funny. And the thing is, though, I did not catch that it was a third-person 3D Metroidvania from the trailer. So I think I'm gonna have to see more on the gameplay before I get really into this. But I could use a funny satirical game because it sounded to me like the way they had pitched it was like, oh, this is a game where you're gonna die a lot and you're gonna laugh with your friends about it. So it's almost like, that the bunny game, right, where it's
Super
like
Bunny Man.
co-op, where it's co-op together and you're gonna die all the time. Like that would
Yeah.
be something I would be in, I would enjoy. But now that it's listed as a third-person 3D Metroidvania, I don't know if that's the case. And lastly, the Midnight Walk, that looks so cool, so creepy and dank. And you're right, the Tim Burton mixed with like H.R. Geiger, right? Where
Right, yeah.
it's like, Cthulhu is coming to life in this. So it looks super, super fun. So if I had to pick one out of 3, I'd also pick Midnight Walk. Just seems, but I am not doing this game in VR. I just will say that.
No.
That is a nightmare waiting to happen, and it's also a reason that somebody's going to run into their wall head first.
Yeah, I would be all for trying it as long as it didn't make me sick.
But yeah, Midnight Walk is
Clean sweep.
Oh no.
What?
Nope.
everything looks good.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. We were frozen for like
Yeah.
a good like. So even GoldenEye says, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, it was like I saw you guys go, and you froze.
Okay.
But we're up. We're
Yeah, we're up. We're good. We're good.
We're good. Okay. Before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. In each episode, Rob picks 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. This week, he's talking to guest Ken Gagney, editor and publisher of Juiced.gs magazine, co-host of the Open Apple podcast, and frequent presenter at Kansas Fest, the Apple II convention. Visit them at retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes. See, if
I
you
could
guys had read ahead in the notes, you probably would have had your answer.
I read ahead, but I didn't see that there was a question, so I just was like, I don't have to pay
Yeah.
attention.
So you skimmed. You didn't
I
really pay
skimmed.
attention.
You're
yeah.
right. I skimmed.
Yeah.
And I'd bet $1 that it's pronounced Gagne.
I would too.
Well, I listened to the podcast and Rob said Gagney. So that's what
Okay.
I said.
All right.
I will owe you another $1.
Yeah. So okay, I guess I gotta PayPal her $1.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure either. I was like, I bet he says it in the introduction to the episode. So I listened and I was like, okay, if it's good enough for Rob to say, that's what I'm going to say.
Respect.
I even wrote it down phonetically on my note. Gag knee.
Ah, nay.
Gag
Yep.
me.
Yep.
Dungy says you guys are fine. Trust the force.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, we are ready to have an epic showdown of trivia, which is Blue's favorite, and an opportunity for Donaldo to regain his status as champion of trivia. For tonight, we will do Gamers Week podcast trivia with your host, Ryan, aka Retro Game Brews. So,
Should
consider.
I put an echo effect on some of this?
Oh yes, by all
With
means.
your host.
So for tonight's trivia, we are starting off. So the way I'm planning this out is that because Donnie is trying to regain the crown, he gets to start first. You're
Okay.
welcome. But we have 4 categories for tonight. So our 4 categories are as follows. The end is nigh, which will be media about dystopian topics.
Okay.
Next one is SNES, Genesis, or TurboGrafx, where the answer is the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, or the TurboGrafx.
Okay.
Third one is called Pong and Beyond, about Nolan Bushnell from Atari.
All right.
Okay.
And the last one is called Are You Scared Yet? About horror movies from the 80s, 90s, and beyond.
Oh, that's me. That's me all day, every day. Okay.
All right. So, Donnie, you get to start first. Which category would you like to start
Okay.
with?
Just so you know, you guys are here. The chat is on that screen. I've got the chat covered. My focus is here.
I think Blue has a question.
Yes.
Are we doing the normal scoring of if he misses, then I can steal it and
Yes.
everything is 1 point?
Correct. That's why
Okay.
I did 3 categories on
Just
SNES,
checking.
Genesis, and TurboGrafx.
The last couple ones we've had weird scoring, so checking.
We're back to normal scoring.
Okay.
What the hell does that mean?
You heard me. It was weird.
Okay, let's start off with Are You Scared Yet?
Are you scared yet? This 1982 film, directed by Tobe Hooper and produced by Steven Spielberg, is often mistakenly attributed as a Spielberg film due to its blockbuster sensibilities, despite Hooper's direction. The film depiction of paranormal activity in a suburban home become an influential touchstone for the haunted house genre.
What is poltergeist?
Very good. Nicely done. Donnie has gotten that one correct. Poltergeist is the answer. All right, Blue.
Let's go SNES, Genesis, or TurboGrafx.
Okay, SNES, Genesis, or TurboGrafx.
Simon Asher says, I love those movies. Or did you say horror?
Well played, sir. All right, so despite its limited success outside of Japan, this console's custom Hue C6280 CPU was praised for being one of the most powerful of its generation, allowing for faster processing in certain types of games, especially in arcade ports.
TurboGrafx.
Very good. TurboGrafx 16 is the correct answer.
Like Poltergeist wasn't a softball.
Honestly, these are intended to get harder as we go.
Like me?
I was gonna say that's my favorite.
All right, Blue with a point, Donnie with a point. Donnie, what are we going with?
Are you scared yet?
Ooh, he's going to take out all of them. I like it. Next up from Are You Scared Yet is this 1982 horror film follows a group of college students who unknowingly summon a demonic entity after dabbling with a strange book. The film is known for its eerie atmosphere and terrifying realization that they are trapped in an even worsening nightmare.
Jeez, is that Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2? I'm going to say Evil Dead 2.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
I'm sorry, that is incorrect. Blue?
Evil Dead.
That is correct. Blue got it right. It was the first one. The year was the indicator for that one.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I wouldn't talk out loud, Donnie.
That's the only reason why she got that.
No, I knew it was Evil Dead as soon as he mentioned teenagers in the book.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Evil Dead Plus C. Says Webhead. Well played.
Nice, Frank.
All right, so Blue, you're up.
Let's give Dystopia a try.
The end is nigh.
The end is nigh, excuse me.
Yep. In this 1973 film, Tuesday is the day for a good food product that's not so much farm to table as it is funeral to feast. Don't ask what's in it.
Soylent Green.
Soylent Green. And Soylent Green is what?
People.
It's people. Soylent Green is people.
Mother.
Very good.
Fucker.
All right. Donnie, you're up.
SNES, Genesis, or TurboGrafx 16?
All right, SNES, Genesis, or TurboGrafx 16. The system's hardware included a DMA, Direct Memory Access feature, allowing for faster data processing and smoother game performance, particularly in titles that relied heavily on sprite scaling and rotation.
Super Nintendo.
Very good. Donnie gets it right. Super Nintendo is the correct answer.
Puzzle Better says spoilers for that movie, and you know what? I did hesitate, but I wasn't going to lose out on a point. So,
all right. And by the way, the biggest clue on that one was rotation, as in mode 7.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, Blue.
I will go. Pong. Is it Pong and After?
Pong and Beyond. Yep.
Pong and Beyond.
All right. So, in addition to his work with Atari, Nolan Bushnell is also known for founding this early video game company in 1978, which specialized in arcade games but was later overshadowed by larger companies.
And it was not Atari.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know then.
I'm sorry. Repeat the question again.
This, in addition to his work with Atari, Nolan Bushnell is known for founding this early company or game company in 1978, which specialized in arcade games, but was later overshadowed by larger companies.
And this is the easy one.
Yeah. What arcade game company did he create? Was it? It wasn't Williams, was it?
Nope.
Okay.
This one, maybe the wording is what's throwing you guys off.
Okay.
So I do apologize if that's the case, but the answer is Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh yeah.
See, I was gonna
yeah,
say
exactly.
Chuck E. Cheese, but I wouldn't consider that an arcade company.
Right. I
Damn it.
apologize, but
I
at least you
forgive you.
both got it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgive you then.
All right, Donnie, you're up.
Are you scared yet?
Are you scared yet? This 2007 film focuses on a series of mysterious deaths in a small town, all connected to a cursed film that causes anyone who watches it to die in a week.
The
Film's
Ring.
chilling atmosphere. What?
The Ring.
The Ring
You're not
is
even gonna let him
correct.
read his carefully crafted question. That's just rude.
I apologize. I heard a break in his speaking. I had to jump in. I'm sorry.
All right, so we are tied 3-3 right now. Lou, you're up.
The end is nigh.
The end is nigh. Set in a post-apocalyptic Neo-Tokyo, this film's title refers to a boy whose powers were once leveled a city and whose name becomes prophecy, legend, and weapon.
Akira.
Akira is
And don't you like
correct.
how I let him finish his question, even though I immediately knew the answer?
I'm glad you let him finish.
You should always let them finish.
Always let us finish. All right. Maybe The Ring was in 2007. I think I looked it up, but that might be incorrect. Nonetheless, they got it right.
Yeah, I thought it was early.
All right.
True, if it's based
Denaldo.
on VHS tapes, 2007 would be pretty late.
Yeah, it's probably like 2003. Yep. Okay. 2002. There we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's go with Are You Scared Yet?
Last one of Are You Scared Yet? In this 2002 film, a group of survivors must escape from a city overrun by zombies after a virus outbreak from escaped infected lab animals. Escaped infected lab animals. The film is a cult classic and it was praised for intense action and horror elements.
What is 28 Days Later?
Very good. 28 Days Later is correct.
Followed by its crap sequel.
I actually have never seen 28 Weeks Later, right?
Neither have I.
Yep.
Don't bother.
All right, so we got 3 more categories left. The end is nigh. Super Nintendo, Genesis, and TurboGrafx, and Pong and Beyond.
Super Nintendo, Genesis, TurboGrafx.
This console's 16-bit graphics hardware allowed for impressive sprite-based effects, including scaling, rotation, and parallax scrolling, but its memory limitations meant developers had to be creative with optimizing graphics.
That sounds exactly like the last question.
Yeah.
Genesis.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Donnie.
Okay.
The TG16.
TG16 is correct, being that it's the memory, which was the limiting factor. Very good. Donnie's getting excited. All right.
You did say things
Denaldo.
were going to get harder.
Yep. Denaldo, you're up.
Let's go with Pong and Beyond.
Pong and Beyond. Bushnell's loving for gaming didn't just start with video games. He was also a massive fan of the board game Go and named his company Atari, which is a phrase used in the game. Which similar phrase used in the game of... which is similar to what one-word phrase used in chess? There we go. You want me to read it again because I screwed it up?
Yeah, please.
Yep. Bushnell's loving for gaming didn't just start with video games. He was also a massive fan of the board game Go and named his company Atari, which was a phrase used in the game, which is similar to what one-word phrase used in chess?
Checkmate?
I'm sorry, that is incorrect. Blue?
Check.
Very good. Check is the answer. It is not to say that you've won the game. It's to say that you're in trouble. I'm sorry, Donnie. That one also hurt my soul a little bit. All right.
Can I get a score count, please?
5-5 update. You're both tied 5-5. All right, Blue, you're up.
The end is nigh.
The end is nigh. In this song, a series of red floating objects mistaken for enemy aircraft trigger a military conflict, symbolizing the absurdity of nuclear war during the Cold War era.
99 Luftballons.
90, and she even used the German
yeah, I
title
was
of
going
it.
to as
Well
I didn't
done.
want to not get my point
Yeah.
because someone was being pedantic.
It's
All
fine,
right.
Steve. Yeah.
The question is, do you know the artist? I'm not going to give you any additional points. I'm just curious. Do either of you know who it's
I
by?
do
Yes.
not recall. I'm sure Donnie does.
Nina.
Nina, very good.
99 und Luftballons.
All right, Donnie.
Let's stick with the end is nigh.
Last one on the end is nigh. War is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. Paradoxical mantras from this year-based novel's ruling party, where contradiction is the ultimate control.
From this year, I don't know what is it looking. I'm gonna say War and Peace, but
Would you like me to repeat the question? Or...
yeah, because it was got. I'm not exactly what you're looking for.
War is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. Paradoxical mantras from this year-based novel's
Based on
ruling party, where contradiction is the ultimate control.
year based. Okay, novel.
Frank said,
Ugh.
"Oh my God, you're going to be upset, Donnie, if you miss this."
1984.
Wow!
Yeah.
Out of his ass!
Out of his ass.
For
19... Go ahead.
your definitions, and then you said year based, and I'm like, okay. And then when Frank chimed in, I was like, wait a second, it's got to be that easy. Okay, 1984.
Because otherwise, Frank wouldn't know it.
You're right. Webhead is correct because we actually did mention this earlier in the podcast. And you mentioned it specifically.
Yeah.
You said
Yeah.
Orwell's 1984.
When you started reading it and Blue, like I saw the look of happiness on her face, I was like, oh my God, she knows this.
In my edgy college days, I considered getting a tattoo of all those phrases.
BRG?
No. Davey says we were all screaming at the monitor.
All right. So, Blue, you are up. Genesis, CES, or TurboGrafx 16, or Pong and Beyond.
Genesis, SNES, TurboGrafx.
The system was the first to implement sprite-based hardware acceleration on a 16-bit console, allowing for smoother character animation and faster gameplay, particularly noticeable in shooter and fighting game libraries.
All these questions are exactly the same. Genesis.
Very good.
Yeah.
It does what Nintendo don't. Very
Yeah.
good. These are intended for you to be meticulous. All right.
Pedantic. Say pedantic.
Pedantic. Perfect. All right, Donaldo.
Let's go with SNES again.
Last one on Super Nintendo Genesis TurboGrafx. This console's YM2612 sound chip was renowned for its ability to produce rich, layered music, often praised for its distinct sound that becomes synonymous with some of the era's most iconic titles, including platformers and fighters.
Super Nintendo.
I'm sorry, that is incorrect.
Genesis.
Oh my God. It's
Genesis is correct.
Oh no.
no, I slipped up because it's the tingy ting ting sound.
This is that was a broken man. If you guys have ever wondered what a broken man looks like. Can we have a score update, please?
8-6.
And how many questions are left?
2.
Perfect. I will take Pong and Beyond.
In 1977, Nolan Bushnell made a key strategic move by selling his majority stake in Atari to this brotherly company, which led to Atari becoming part of a larger corporate conglomerate.
Brotherly party. Yeah, I remember when we talked about him selling, but I do not recall. Parker Brothers.
Actually, Parker Brothers wouldn't have been a bad choice because there were
Yeah.
some Atari games made by Parker Brothers, but
Yeah, I'm guessing that's not correct then.
not correct. It is not.
Damn it.
Donnie,
It wasn't Hewlett Packard, was it?
is that an answer or are you asking me a question?
Well, I'm asking you a question, and that way you can tell me if I'm right.
Are
or not.
you going to
If
the
it's
mall later?
That's that is my answer. Hewlett Packard. I don't remember this one.
I'm sorry, that is incorrect. The correct answer is Warner Communications.
Wrong brothers.
Okay.
Wrong brothers.
Damn it! So I can't win.
All right, so we got our last question for funsies.
I'll go with Pong and Beyond for 5 points.
All right, for 5 points. Who says?
I'll wager. I can wager all my points.
After leaving Atari, Nolan Bushnell became a key investor and advisor in this well-known Japanese company, which would go on to create a highly successful robotic dog, Aibo, instead of Fido, eventually transforming the company into a leader in consumer robotics.
Was Pioneer?
Sorry, that is incorrect.
Okay. Blues checking her
Consumer
phone.
robotics. What even is that?
Consumer robotics is like having a robot at home.
Yes, thank you. I know so many
Like
people
the
have a
Roomba?
robot at home. So, I don't know. Toshiba.
Sorry, Toshiba is incorrect. The correct answer is Sony.
Oh, see, I thought
Dang.
that
Okay.
popped to mind, but I was like, nah, he's gonna pick something more obscure.
I think the reason I picked it is because it seemed like it would be more obscure.
Damn.
All right. All right. So, final count. We've got Donnie with 6 questions correct, or 6 points, and Blue with 8. So, Blue retains.
Yeah, remind me. 8 is higher than 6, right?
I'm going
I
to
get
kill the
confused.
I'm going to kill the stream.
Yeah, so I guess I'm still trivia daddy.
Okay, I got confused on the wording for the sound processing thing, and I was like, oh yeah, it's because it was worded that made it sound like it was a positive thing for the system, and I'm like,
Which
oh, yeah,
some people, opinion wise, would say that it is.
Yeah.
but
I felt that his delivery of the question was dripping with sarcasm.
well, potato tomato.
I you can listen back to it. I do distinct sound.
Yep, we will review the tape later. Everyone in the chat can be
Review this
judged,
tape.
but
That's
yeah.
what you can review.
Hey, you know what? Good game. Good game.
It's
Good
just-
game.
It was
whatever.
I think we all had fun.
GG's. Mhm.
Kiss my ass. Kiss his ass.
You fell
Happy
before me
Hanukkah.
says Ryan, sarcastic.
Never.
I know, Frankie. I lost because I chose Nintendo over Sega, and I love my Sega. I went against the family.
The irony. I know it was you.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode. Thank you for listening to episode 164 of Gamers Week Podcast, and a big thank you to the Retro Game Club Podcast, Love Retro BTW, Pixel Pond Production Company, and absolutely the best podcast, A Work in Progress, for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. And now, with no crashes. If you want to connect with Gamers
We're
Week,
not done yet. Yeah.
follow
I
us
know
on
you're
Twitter.
upset, but that's just me.
Follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Gamers Week PC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gamers Week Podcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com, or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. And finally, since you've made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. You can even tell us how you dislike Blue as Trivia Daddy.
That's not
Wow.
the vibe I'm getting from the chat, though.
I'm picking up. See, Ryan delivered it. I interpreted it one way. You interpreted it another. We've seen chat a different way. There you go. While you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice.
All these flavors and you choose salty.
It's so good when it hits your lips. Everybody, thank you very much for hanging out with us and spending your time tonight. I'm so glad that we did not have an issue. Hopefully that's yeah. My butthole can now unclench because we're done with the episode. So unpuckered. Again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We're going to send you on over to, I believe we're sending you on to Pixel Bond Production Company, and they are streaming some retro. What are they playing? I don't know just yet, but let's go and find out.
Jizzle physics.
We're even doing stingers on the live show now.
Yes.
Right. As Simon Astor says, any podcast you can walk away from is a good one. I think that's a good attitude to have.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. We're going to send you on over to Ducks and Redox. Have a good night. We'll see you back here next week with hopefully more crash free. See ya.
Good night, guys.
Bye.